what have been some of the bigger surprises like that caught you off guard by Facebook?
Oh. I mean, working with like a lot of people at the same time is just like a task, and I mean, and I really like making stuff and getting stuff done. And one of the things that I really liked about Facebook was that I could always move so quickly. So like, I wrote the original application in like 9 days in the end of January, and that was cool. And now like with 20 people, we have this whole organization and like getting stuff done. We can get a lot of bigger things done because we have a lot more people who have knowledge in different areas. But like, if we want to make like a small change, that becomes more difficult. So we're a little less agile now, and like trying to maintain that for as long as possible is something that I kind of worry about or think would be cool. But I mean, it's just interesting seeing how it evolves.
So then you're the CEO, right?
Yeah.
What's that like being 21 and the CEO?
Well, I think the role of CEO kind of changes with the size of the company. So in a really small startup, the CEO is very often like the founder or the idea guy or the guy who like pushes stuff forward. If you're like a big company, then the CEO is really just managing and maybe doing some strategy, but not necessarily being the guy with like the big ideas. So it's a transition moving towards that. And I mean, it also like, do I want to continue doing that, or do I like want to hire someone to do that and maybe just like focus more on just like cool ideas? That's more fun. So.
There's been other sites, like Friendster or whatever. They really haven't taken off.
Friendster did really well for a while and had technological problems. So like, I think that their site was actually really slow for 8 months or something, and it was a really strong site and a lot of people loved it. But I mean, if you can't use it for 8 months, then that kind of isn't very good for the brand or the site.
Like, what do you think that Facebook brings to the table that other online communities don't have?
I think that like the fact that Facebook is tied into the real world instead of just being an online community is a big difference. So a lot of online communities don't really have like a set culture. So I mean, people don't know how to act online, and I mean, right now we're face to face and we're acting in a certain way, which is different than we'd act if you were just like a screen name on my monitor or something, But like the fact that this is tied into culture, and like, I mean, so my friends at Harvard will observe how I act on Facebook, makes it a different kind of community because it's actually an online community with the values of a real community. So I think that makes it cool. It makes it so that there's like real life useful information that's available there, and the interactions also sometimes are like more applicable to real life too. So I think that's pretty interesting. And I mean, like, there's also cool interactions that occur on other sites, but I mean, this is very real, I feel, and I think that's what we're going for with it.
Who are some of the more interesting, I guess, like Facebook denizens, like the people with 30,000 friends, or because we got one from this guy's like, I don't have friends in real life. I'm trying to make all my friends on Facebook. Or then there are guys who are like raising money for charity via their Facebook page, and who are some of your more interesting ones out there?
I think that the first few people who tried to do that each had got 100,000 friends or something like that. There was some comedian kid at Columbia.
Yeah, Steve Hofstetter.
Yeah, and so when he was the first guy who really tried to do that, and well, I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, that was sort of signal to us that people actually care about this. If people can become a Facebook celebrity, that means that the medium by itself means something to a lot of people, and that's kind of interesting and rewarding. But I mean, I don't know. We're also just interested in keeping it useful. So I mean, to the extent that I'm gonna go to your profile and see your friends, it doesn't really help me if you're friends with Steve Hofstetter, because are you really friends with Steve Hofstetter? Probably not. But so we kind of have to always be trying to balance stuff out like that. Is it more valuable to me if you, if your friends are an accurate representation of your real friends, but at the same time, you're gonna probably have more fun with the site if you can just mess around with it or do whatever you want. So we try to keep a lot of the stuff light. So, I mean, under what you're looking for, we have stuff like random play and whatever I can get, which I mean I just kind of think is funny and keeps the site a little less serious while also providing decent information to people.
Alright, and this is something I wanted to clear up, like for girls out there who click that they're looking for friendship and random play and that they're in a relationship. What exactly do you mean by random play?
I mean, what we mean is defined by like the culture, you know. So it's not. It doesn't really matter what I mean, you know. It's like the same thing as poking. Like, what did I mean by poking? Like, who cares? It's like, what's the meaning? Like, how do you feel when you get poked? You know, like that matters a lot more than like what I thought poking meant when I programmed the feature.
Okay.
So.
No, definitely. Let's see. Are you noticing like I guess social differences between different schools? Like, does Harvard produce more groups than like Huntsville A&M or something like that? Like,
I haven't really
or
looked
do
into that
all
that
the
much.
schools kind of act the same?
The schools grow differently depending on the size of the school, and I mean, a school like Harvard has 97% of the people living on campus, so a lot of that like helps it wire up quicker because I mean, if everyone's in one of 10 houses or 11 houses at Harvard, then like there's only 11 email lists that you need to hit before like everyone at the school has been exposed to the site. I think like really large schools I mean, like Cornell was the first large school that we had on the network, and like I think that most of the people at Cornell don't live on campus. They live in apartments. So I mean, it grew like a little slower, but then once everyone was on, it was used just as much, and I mean, it's almost more useful because it's harder to assemble that many people.
Definitely. What's been I guess the most difficult thing like as you've grown, like as you've gone from just a few users to 3 million?
I mean, so there's the people issues of just like growing the company and like the group of people working on it. There's the technical issues of like scaling the service from 1 or 2 servers to over 100 like we have now. I mean, dealing with like a lot of the external pressure is like has been an interesting part of it too. So I mean, we're in Silicon Valley and there's like a lot of business people around and like a lot of people who are really interested in what we're doing because it's a good way to get at like the college demographic, which I mean apparently is valuable because I mean, do you read newspapers or watch TV like as much as someone in high school say or like someone who outside of college like and has a lot more free time? Like probably not. So it's really hard to reach college students. And like everyone's really excited about this, but I mean we don't really care that much about that, you know. So like having to like balance all that with just trying to make something that we think is cool and interesting and fast is kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies out here and they all have like their interests and it's like an interesting group